this edition of The Signal. 10 years of protesting and Divest Dal is still out fighting against fossil fuel investments at Dalhousie.
Art organizations are fighting back against a 55% cut in funding.
Detrimental. I don't think that that's an overstatement.
And a fire stole the jobs of over 30 people. A fundraiser begins to help.
Hello, I'm Declan Z. Rule.
And I'm Anna Mandan. Welcome to The Signal. Halifax's Budget Committee is meeting this week to discuss proposed cuts to the Professional Arts Grant. Arts organizations are pushing back. Angela Capobianco brings us the story.
Halifax arts organizations are speaking out in advance of potential cuts to their funding. $300,000. That's the amount of money that could be cut from the Professional Arts Grant. Not good news for businesses like Neptune Theatre or art organizations like Wonderneath. Melissa Marr is the co-founder of Wonderneath, a non-profit aiming to create low-barrier access to the arts. She says that these cuts would be devastating for Wonderneath. It uses $12,000 from the grant to keep their doors open. What is so good about this grant is that it's flexible and can be put towards operational costs.
I think the significance of a cut to a budget that is already low in terms of what support is being offered to arts organizations in the city is detrimental. I don't think that that's an overstatement. So this is a 2-story mural that will end up.
Marr is also concerned that these cuts will cause long-lasting harm to the art community. She's worried that artists will leave Halifax. This is something Carmel Farabach is also concerned about.
I'm good. How are you?
They're the chair of the board for Khyber and an artist themselves. They say with no funding to the arts, there's no incentive to stay in Halifax.
I also thought about the reality where many of our incredible creatives and artists feel like they have to leave the city to access support financially for their craft. And it just made me nervous of a mass exodus. And I think that really shows the lack of consideration put into this proposed cut.
Art organizations in Halifax launched a letter writing campaign and published a public letter calling for councillors to say no to the cut. They wrote that cutting funding to the arts will not just impact artists, but also impact the vibrancy and wellness of the city. The letter highlights that Halifax is already behind in funding the arts on a national level. It says that currently funding for the grant is only $1.16 per capita. If this cut happens, this number will be reduced to 53 cents per capita. For Marr and Farabach, this makes the arts even more precarious.
Because, if we're looking at budgets that are so insignificant, it really means that new people can't enter this field, and then the talent that's already in this sector can't stay.
The Khyber Arts Centre says it intends on being at Friday's budget meeting along with its supporters. Angela Capobianco, The Signal, Halifax.
Since 2013, Dalhousie students have been protesting the school's investment in fossil fuels. It's been a decade, and a new generation of students hasn't given up the fight. Rye Pembroke has that story.
Jude Sampson has been organizing for climate justice since they were in high school. Now, they help organize with Divest Dal. For the past 10 years, this student-led group has been fighting Dalhousie University's investments in fossil fuel companies.
We are trying to get Dalhousie to stop investing in harmful industries such as fossil fuels.
The group formed in 2013 when the idea of divestment was still just that, an idea. Now, Dal has fallen seriously behind nationally.
Since it was last talked about at Dal in 2019, there's been 10 universities who have pledged divestment.
Divest Dal says the university invested over $24 million in companies involved in fossil fuel extraction in 2022. Companies like TC Energy, a natural gas company, and Enbridge, a company focused on pipeline transportation of crude oil.
I think that this is a gross mishandling of student funds, and it's quite embarrassing, honestly, that Dalhousie has let this go on for so long.
This is something that I can really, my voice will be heard, my presence will be, seen.
I think Dal really needs that push, and I'm really glad that the students of Dal are making that push for them.
Simon Greenland Smith was a Dal student when Divest Dal began.
I couldn't be prouder that Divest Dal is still going after 10 years. And I think it's just like a testament to how salient climate change is for people.
Dalhousie University declined an interview request. In an emailed statement, the school outlined their commitments to sustainability on campus. In 2014, the board chose not to take a divestment approach. In 2019, the board approved a report on investing in fossil fuels, committing to lowering carbon emissions across their investments. For Divest Dal, nothing short of full divestment will stop their presence. For The Signal, I'm Ray Pembroke.
Katie McKenna joins us now. Hey, Katie.
Hey, Anna.
I can't stand when my laptop gets old and starts dying all the time.
Yeah, I hate that too. But thankfully, this week I spoke to Dalhousie University researchers who discovered why that happens. Deep in the heart of the Dalhousie University research labs, lithium-ion batteries are put through their paces. Dozens of experimental battery cells are being charged and discharged again and again in environments as hot as 85 degrees Celsius.
This is one of our many charger rooms where we have...
It was here that researcher Anu Adamson made a discovery that is sending ripples throughout the battery industry. She was testing a battery at high heat and discovered that the electrolyte fluid inside the battery turned red. That's not supposed to happen. That red fluid was the sign of a problem.
So what I essentially did is I took a cell, took it apart, and looked at every single plastic looking part, because we do know that PT is a very common plastic.
The lab's team realized the problem was the tape. Each battery has 2 electrodes, one negative and one positive. Between the electrodes is an electrolyte fluid. This is all held together by tape. So, they swapped out the tape. The self-discharge problem went away.
I feel that when it comes to manufacturing process, it would be very easy. Just taking off one roll of tape and replacing it with another. That's it.
The battery lab at Dalhousie receives millions in funding from Tesla. The electric car manufacturer was very interested in the findings. Dr. Michael Metzger, the head of the team at Dalhousie University's battery lab, says they have been flooded with interest from industry.
But we already have lots of folks, that approached us after these research articles came out and asked us for alternatives. So my personal take is that, the industry can catch up to this quite fast, and hopefully, battery manufacturers can use more stable polymers in their manufacturing process.
What the other material might be is now the focus of the lab.
And our most promising candidates, we actually already put them into prototype battery cells, which are testing at the moment. So we're already collecting results.
He expects to be able to announce those results by March.
All I can say on that right now is stay tuned.
I'm Katie McKenna for The Signal, Halifax.
Local Halifax restaurant Antojo's is fundraising for the staff of the Stubborn Goat. The restaurant caught fire 2 weeks ago. This week, I went down to meet the people who put the fundraiser together. The Stubborn Goat restaurant went up in flames 2 weeks ago. Stubborn Goat's assistant manager, Wade Betts, found out when he was on a lunch break.
We ate and then we went back. I think we went back about 1:30. And then Heather, who's the general manager, she came in and she grabbed her stuff and she just looked at me and she's like, the goat's on fire. So then obviously we all left kind of in disbelief, and then heard the sirens and he was on fire.
Since then, most of the staff lost their jobs. Now, Antojo, a local restaurant, is having a fundraiser to support them. The Stubborn Goat and Antojo are both managed by Legendary Hospitality, who are in charge of organizing the fundraiser. John Witten.
So, we had to lay off 36 of our employees at the Stubborn Goat. We all know that the past few years has been pretty brutal for all businesses. Hospitality has taken it as hard as any other business. So we're trying to look after them as best as we can do.
100% of some foods and drinks goes to the fundraiser. Patrons can also add a donation to their bill or bid in an online auction.
We're looking to kind of get somewhere anywhere between sort of $15,000 to $20,000.
Wade hopes that by showing the support, the staff will return to the restaurant if or when it is rebuilt.
I I've worked a lot in hospitality, and like the team that we had at the Go was like the best of the best, the nicest people. So I'm hoping that they come back.
A third restaurant, Dirty Nelly's, will be hosting a similar fundraiser on March 19th for the Stubborn Goat staff. The Signal, I'm Declan Zion-Roll, Halifax.
3 weeks ago, we met Ukrainian Yulia Strumbitska, her husband Volodymyr, and their 2 young children at the airport. They had found a host family on Facebook 2 days before their arrival, but had no long-term place to stay, no school for their children, and no jobs. It was a leap of faith. This week, we checked back with the family to see how they're doing.
3 weeks ago, Yulia Strumbitska and her husband Volodymyr were homeless and exhausted. Now, their children are in school and they have a furnished apartment. It was a frantic hunt. Strumbitska found the apartment through Facebook.
I write many letters, but nobody answer. And then I write to Elizabeth.
Elizabeth Martin is their landlord.
I've been a real estate agent and a landlady for over 20 years, and I always do my homework. I do a lot of background checks. This time I didn't do any. I just liked the family, and I just went on gut feeling.
Martin moved to Canada from Hungary when she was a child.
And I know how difficult it is for someone to come from another country to start a new life.
Along with bedding and a furnished apartment, Martin gives the family rides, which helped Yulia enroll her children in school within days of coming to Canada.
Yeah, they enjoy in school. I don't know what they do in school, but they return very happy.
Strumbitska's daughter Sonia is in 4th grade.
I enjoy in school. Friends play take and play talk with me.
But Yulia and her husband still don't have jobs.
We must to pay for rent, car, insurance, buy to food.
She spends hours a day looking for work, practicing her English with neighbors, online courses, even bank documents. Last Friday, she went to the food bank for the first time. Long term, Strumbitska wants to stay in Canada.
When we arrived here, I saw how people help us, and it's beautiful nature here. I didn't want to think about war, soldiers, rockets, and another things consist with war.
Anna Mandan, The Signal, Halifax.
Katie, you're back, and so is spring break.
And it couldn't come sooner.
You went around campus to talk to people about their plans, is that true?
I did, Declan, and as you know, the weekend is almost here, and for most students, that also means reading week. I hit campus to find out more. Buried in the stacks of the King's College Rare Book Collection lies the archive of academic calendars. In the leather-bound King's 1967 calendar, on the 4th page of that year, one line, in black and white, the first study break. There is no reference as to why they created Reading Week. It was 1967, a year of a new Beatles album, the first heart transplant, and the Vietnam War. Wikipedia suggests that the study break may have been prompted by the 1960 movie, Where the Boys Are, that showed hundreds of students partying on the beaches in Fort Lauderdale on spring break. One thing we do know is it's still here. So what is Reading Week for the students of 2023? Is it actually a study break? Or is it in fact still an excuse for partying, just like back in 1967?
Spring break, I'm going to be doing a lot of working, I think, unfortunately, but I wish I'd be going somewhere south, but not this year.
I'm going to Sarasota, Florida with my mom.
Oh my gosh, and what do you have planned for Sarasota?
Relaxing on the beach, just hanging out, doing some studying as well. Got the midterm afterwards, but just fun in the sun.
I'm actually going down to Cuba with my girlfriend and some of our friends. So I feel like it's like a rite of passage for university.
A lot of catching up on homework and hanging out with the dogs, about it.
I'll be going to Florida to visit my grandparents.
Whatever you do, have a good, safe study break. I'm Katie McKenna for The Signal, Halifax.
All right, folks, that's our final show. I'm Declan Z. Roll.
And I'm Anna Mandan. And
This is The Signal. Thanks for watching.